Jimmy, this was a really great episode of season 4, episode 9. This was one that I was like, they brought in some goods today. In one word, describe this episode.
Best.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
putting it up there pretty high.
Yeah. Best. I just
Dang.
tweeted that out. This may be the best episode yet, and there are a lot of reasons for it. How did you like it?
I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. And there was one particular scene that was my all time favorite that I love seeing when we can get that certain aspect. And we're going to get into it. You might know what I'm referring to, those that are listening and watching this. But there's just one little piece when they bring in a certain person in and they tell their story. That's what I love the most. Of course, I do love the science aspects, and there was a lot of science in today's episode, a lot of experiments, which was a big plus overall. I gotta say, it was really, really good. And Jose Sanchez, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. Thank you so much. And I'm referring to yesterday's episode. I know I'm saying today because we're reviewing the episode today,
Yeah,
but it came out
it,
yesterday.
it throws me off, especially this episode dealt with time. And so,
Time anomalies.
Okay, we'll get that. That was at the end of the. We'll save that for. There was a lot going on here.
Oh yeah.
Now, and then, okay, I'm gonna be. I just said it was the best episode yet. Okay,
People are agreeing with you in the live chat too.
are they? Okay,
They
good.
are.
That means this is on. This
That's
thing's
right.
working. This thing's working. Best. And so, but it wasn't perfect. Okay. So let me just say this. They started off right out of the episode, the drilling. I'm like, oh, okay. It's arrived. We're going. Nope. We gotta wait. We gotta wait on the drilling. We gotta wait on the. I was, now, not to say that because the episode was so great, right? One thing after another, they did the drilling teaser in the beginning, and I completely forgot about the drilling. I mean, the episode had me on the edge of my seat throughout the entire episode. I get to the end, I was like, the drilling. They did it again. So we're going to have to wait. We're going to have to wait on the drilling. So, folks, if you're like me, waiting for these results to come back from the drilling, you're going to have to wait. There you go. Spoiler number 1.
Well, this show is filled with spoilers today.
I'm going to do this in real time. This is the owner of Contact in the Desert. Hey, Ron, I'm live on the air with Cristina Gomez. Say hi to Cristina.
Hey, Cristina.
Hi there.
Hey, Ron, we're doing a live review of Skinwalker Ranch, a live stream. Can I call you back in like 45 minutes?
Yeah.
You're the best, brother. I'll talk to you in a minute. Okay, man. Bye.
So
when the owner of CITD calls,
gotta pick up.
What am I going to do? Hang up on him and be rude? No, but at least he said hi to you.
Hello.
So there you go. Okay, so no drilling, but then, and you have the list of names. You know everybody there, right? Okay. This episode was so good that I didn't take notes. Normally, because you have lulls in the action, right? So you're taking notes and you're doing that. Not this one had me fixated the entire time. And so next up, they bring in, and I need you can tell everybody who he was. They bring in a ground penetrating topography expert, and he talks about his gear. Who was he? What's his company? And what was the experiment?
So the company is called Luna Sound, and it was run by Jeremiah Pate, who is this guy right here. And what they were looking at, it was an aerial piece of technology to give answers about things above the ground and things below the ground, and it was launched right at the triangle. And it was using low frequency radio waves on a weather balloon, and it would go 2 times as high as a jetliner, which is about 7,000 feet above the range,
No,
and several
70.
Yes,
That's crazy.
70,000 feet above the ranch and several kilometers below the surface. And that was one thing that I found really odd. He was using both metric systems, going feet and kilometers, and I'm just like, "Whoa, just pick one." Just pick one because it's kind of confusing for the rest of the world. But aside from that, this piece of technology was really spectacular. The data was interesting, and we're going to get into that. But one thing that I would like to touch on before we continue is going back to the drilling. Joe Loeb had been drilling for 2 weeks on the mesa, and he had mentioned in last week's episode that it was 1 foot per hour. And he's been drilling for 2 weeks, and there's still no answers. He's still continuing to drill. Hopefully, we'll get answers in the next week's episode. But it was really odd there. But going back into this, right? Um, so you have this with Jeremiah Pate bringing in certain technology. Tomographic imaging is what he referred it to, and he was saying that you have the 70,000 feet above the ranch and several kilometers below the surface. And please forgive me, I was getting kilometers and meters confused, but in this case, it is the same metric system with kilometers and feet. So I know people are like, "What are you talking about, Christina?" Sorry about that. But going back to this, what was interesting in this scene in particular was Thomas had mentioned this technology is going to be super cool because it might be able to solidify rumors or to push away rumors of there being underground bases and tunnels. And I was
Right.
like, that was really cool for Thomas to even bring that up because those rumors have been spread around for decades. Did we get those answers? No, we did not. However,
Oh, yeah.
we got some
However,
cool data.
oh man, let's swing back to that.
Okay.
All right, let's. I don't because it ties into so many other things, but so you can't help but be reminded. He says weather balloon data collection, right? 70,000 feet, and that's what we've been shooting out of the sky, right? And I just thought about that. I thought, what? You had the Chinese balloon. We had the at that altitude, 70,000 feet. How are they going to control this? How do you keep it directly above the ranch? 70,000 feet is high. Okay, a commercial jetliner, 35,000 feet, 40,000 feet. That's a commercial jetliner, which at that altitude you can barely see. So we're going up above that. And at that height, man, I sounded like Travis Taylor. And to turn around and go kilometers below the Earth's surface. And he said it is the most advanced, detailed type of survey that you can do in the world. That this is the best equipment, period. That right there just got my attention. What is it now? If that's not playing around, okay, that is Brandon. We're talking about bringing in the heavy artillery here. So what's going to happen with that? In the end, jumping when they showed the tracking, this thing was right over the top of Skinwalker Ranch. It went over the triangle, right? It went over the drill site. It went right along the mesa and did a little curly Q, right? It's up there in the wind. And then turn on, but they grabbed data directly above the ranch and it tracked right there. Finally, something worked right. Right. and here it is here. Now let's save the data collection for later. Let's circle back to that because that happened at the end of the episode anyway. So much
Right.
happened in between, Christina. Now I know that this is a family orientated show. I'm not suggesting bad language, but I will say that what we're going to talk about next, that I would like to talk about next, was disturbing. And they brought a sheriff here he is. Sheriff's name was
Corey Reed.
Corey Reed. Corey Reed's also a member of the local tribe. Okay. And he says he's got a story to share about a report that he filed with photographs. What happened?
So he had mentioned first he took the team to the site where he had to go back in the early 2000s about a owner at the time that called in to mention that 2 horses were dead on his land. And so when he takes a look at them, he noticed that these 2 horses were cleaned out from the inside. No tissue, no organs, or anything like that. And then he also mentioned that there were some strange footprints around these horse carcasses. It had 3 toes and it was about 6 inches in length. It was about the size of a hand and it had equal sized toes. Dragon had mentioned that he didn't know of any creatures that could match that kind of description. A 3-toed footprint about being 6 inches in length. And if anything, it sounds kind of like a type of reptile footprint.
Yeah.
But
Obviously, Dragon's never seen Jurassic Park. But yeah, 6 inches, right? And when you heard, because the visions, right? The pictures in your head, he said the horses were cleaned out.
yeah, which is wild because Jimmy, we've done a whole show on cattle mutilations, animal mutilations, but we didn't cover any stories, none, where everything was cleaned out, the tissues and the organs and everything like that. As he had mentioned, that's a quote. We've only the cases that we've covered, the more prevalent ones are when they remove certain organs, the tongues, things like this. But in this case, for Mr. Reed here, he says that everything was removed.
That's just, right? Thank you, Olivia.
Thank you for that. And thank you so much, Cindy, as well.
Yeah,
I
thank
can't
you,
wait
Cindy.
to see the rest of the data. Me neither. I felt a little shorthanded with the data that we received, but we will be getting more.
Okay, so the prom. Okay, all right. I don't want to jump ahead. But to the data. No, the data that was the preliminary data that has come in is crazy town stuff. Okay, crazy town, and it's not even the big news, right?
No.
So no. This was a great episode. Okay, so but when you hear that, right, cleaned out from the inside, what is he saying? You know what's cleaned out? That's what does that in nature? Yeah, it seems like we would hear about stuff like this all the time if that was the case, right? That certain predators or insects or birds or whatever eat animals in this fashion, right? And we would hear and see. I've never heard of this before. Totally cleaned out from the inside. Disturbing.
Oh,
Just
definitely. And then another odd aspect about this particular story by Mr. Reed is that when he had filed the report, he sent in the pictures. He went to go check on that report a few months later, and it had disappeared. Both Reed and Kayla Bench had mentioned that because they both work for the police department, they mentioned that they have heard stories very similar to the one that Reed had relayed to the team, where when they speak to a higher up and relay their story, that information vanishes and or they are told to erase those pictures, the videos, and to get rid of the report as well.
yeah, crazy, just nuts, and okay, so I'm looking at the clock. We've got so much to cover in this episode. What's next for you?
Well, then they bring in David Mason on again to bring in his thermal technology that he had created and to watch the skies while the rest of the team conducts experiments. Very specifically, Travis and Caleb launch rockets and fireworks. In this case, he refers them to as mortar, and to hopefully stimulate another blob anomaly that they captured a few episodes ago, or to simulate more UAP sightings. When it was, first of all, it was so great to see David Mason on the show again, and for him to just go into a little bit more detail on his work, in the sense of like his
Tech.
equipment, right,
Yeah.
and his tests compared to the last time he was on. So that was great. But what we were looking at, and to be clear, David Mason was using special FLIR equipment, but he is also an inventor and he customizes his equipment as well. But they were looking at the skies to see if they would capture anything. And during the time of the very first experiment, when Travis and Caleb launched both the rocket and the mortar, they crashed into each other. And Eric mentioned that it was like shooting a bullet with a bullet. The
Yes.
statistics are incredibly low.
They completely. Now, when they fired those off, you're right though. It's fireworks. They say mortar. Okay, all right. But they fire, and these things hit each other, and it would be very similar. I mean, the concept of hitting a bullet with a bullet. And the odds of that happening, it's astronomical. Now, they're not going at the speed of but they're still fast, and they're on their own trajectories and everything else. But to have them hit at, again, that same altitude where everything else seems to go wonky, right? And I thought that was incredible. So they launch and they literally go boom and hit each other in midair. They did another launch a little bit later, but they didn't launch them at the same time, and so that was successful. But the reason for the second one, they're trying to pinpoint this 1.6, right? And they're trying to triangulate on that. They're trying to get this reaction. They're trying to make this happen. So while they're doing that, they detect and see a light off in the distance. The FLIR is showing this light. Here it is, heating up and cooling down, heating up and cooling down, heating up and cooling down. When they did the second launch, hoping to continue this experiment. They did this at the moment they launched, it stopped. Now, again, it's just like, well, what is it? It could be a coincidence. It could be that it's just strange. That's all. If I was there, I would be scratching my head just like everybody else is. It's just like it's become the normal, right? It's just become expected. Just weird stuff happening all the time. And in this case, second launch, the launch goes off fine. The mortar, right? All that launches. And then the anomaly that was lighting up, heating up and cooling down in the background, it just stopped, and they never located it and found its source.
No, and going back to the first launch, it was believed by Travis that when the two things hit, it was about 30 feet off the ground. And this is a consistent theme where when things launch, it just makes it to about 30 feet and then it crashes. Not the case for everything, but the ones that have failed are kind of in that range. Now, was that measured? No, it was not. But that was what Travis saw with his own eyes. And he thought to himself, that was about 30 feet off the ground.
Yeah, crazy. I'm crazy. I have an open mind, and I do my best to remain objective and like stay in the middle, and let's just collect the data and let's enjoy the strangeness, and let's go. This stuff, and this is different than other TV shows and other things that are going on. This is some pretty high-tech equipment, heavy funding going in behind what is happening here, with crazy data coming back. And then, of
brilliant
course,
minds as well.
Yeah. I'm not there. But see, the thing is that now also we've got another aircraft that flew over during this testing that's not showing up in the flight tracking software. Again, just absolutely strange.
That was an odd detail. And then here's another anomaly that they saw. Here are the little cows, which are so cute. And then they find something very odd through the thermal imaging as well. And then near the end of the episode, they begin to dissect the data that was collected by Jeremiah Pate, who is right here on the other side of the screen. This guy. And he mentioned that he hadn't seen anything like this before. And that is something that we hear almost every single time an expert comes on the ranch. They collect the data, they analyze the data, and they say, I've never seen anything like this.
So okay, so now I was expecting. I really enjoyed this data, by the way, but I was expecting the thermal imaging, the topic. I think he called it. What did he call it? Slow speed?
Tomographic?
No, slow speed radar or so. Anyway. I was expecting the imaging, right, from kilometers under the ground. No, he flashes up on the screen some charts. There they are. Okay. So go to the zoom in on the one on the left. Okay. So this is the electronic field data. And you see these jumps and you see these dips in it. Okay. Very specific. Okay. Go to the image on the right. And that's the magnetic field data. And at the same moments during the same time period. Okay. They are affecting each other in opposites, which is
Right.
a weird at that same moment where you're seeing the magnetic field or the electric field, here it is here, affecting apparently each other at the same time, is one affecting the other. And again, this is something that a scientist, an engineer would go, okay, what's the correlation here? What's the connection? You can see it happening, but what is causing it? This is very strange. A very technical information. But now back out. Do you have the image of the location of the timing where he had the black lines coming down?
No, but I can
Oh,
get it.
okay. So, what's the owner of the company's name?
Jeremiah Pate.
Okay, so Jeremiah does this location thing. So he's got a line on a map of where the balloon is. Okay, all right, and then where the balloon is on the discrepancies in the data. Okay, and so when it's over the drill site, you see it. When it's over Homestead, you see it. When you see it over the triangle, right? You see these changes in the data that are directly above, and that's where it's being picked up. That is, and the drill site and what's going on there, now, and we're not even getting to the crazy stuff. But here is what I thought. Yeah, that's it. That's the image. Okay, so over on the left, that's the drill site. And you can see when it was over the drill site, what's happening there. You can see a Homestead. You can see the triangle. Look at the triangle. Look what happens, when it's over the triangle. And but here is the for me, the crazy part that is happening over the drill site. Could it be caused by the drill equipment? Okay. All right. Now, all I'm suggesting here is there is a lot of gear that is there? Or is the gear already gone? Are they done with the drilling? Right. I don't know. I'm not there. I'm not on location. Right. I don't know when the production equipment is there, Christina. When they are there filming, have they already filmed? Did they complete the drill experiment? So because all they said here was that was the drill site. Now, if it's the drill site with the drill and everything that is involved with that, you have engines and magnets and electronics and stuff. That could maybe cause this. Is it the heavy equipment that's on the site or not? I don't know. But it is strange that the timing of this is specific to location. It's pretty strange. It's an amazing set of data collection.
And what Jeremiah also mentioned is that they lost a quarter of a second of time, bringing in the time anomaly aspect that Travis has mentioned, not only on the show, but also in the panel discussion here on this channel as well. And Jeremiah mentioned that he had never witnessed that before with his equipment while conducting tests. That was a new thing. And Travis said it's like a wrinkle in space and time, that something on the ranch is causing something like this to happen. And then Thomas sprinkled the idea, asking if there's a portal. And my ears got so big in that moment. And I said, yes, portals, love portals. But it is something that has been questioned for a long period of time. And then near the end, Travis brings the connection between the Native American legends of portals being on the ranch with the data collected from today. And I thought that was a really interesting correlation that was made, bringing in the past with the present.
Okay, a quarter of a second sounds short. In science, a quarter of a second is an eternity. That is a big chunk of time. And so Jeremiah and his team, they're looking at the data, and suddenly their clocks are off by a quarter of a second. Now, remember, I just had Pete on the show, and he's been talking about these GPS anomalies, stuff showing up underground in the GPS and things just going crazy in the data collection. And then when you hear something like this, that your equipment, because again, this needs to be understood. If there were places on this planet where GPS and sensor systems are off by things like a quarter of a second, you wouldn't be able to drive cars. You wouldn't be able to have a train system, a trucking system, a logistics network, GPS, satellites, location data, airplanes. Everything would be off. Not by that quarter second that we're talking about here. We're talking about miles. Imagine you driving down the street and your GPS tells you to turn 3 blocks short of where you're supposed to turn. It's like that. Okay. It's a quarter of a second. Now, does this suggest? I have never heard, I personally, and I do a lot of research in this, I have never heard of this happening anywhere. Now, we do atomic clock measurements. We do this. So we measure a watch, a clock, at a certain altitude, and then go up to Mount Everest and measure, and you come up with trillions of a second in difference because of gravity, and Newton knew this, and others knew this, and when we put the GPS satellites up in space, you have to understand their clocks are running different than the clocks down here on Earth. So the software has to be written into those GPS satellites to compensate for the difference in time and how time works and how it exists. Okay, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And we're talking about millions of a second. And here at Skinwalker Ranch, it's a quarter of a second, not millionths, a quarter. A quarter of a second. This opens up the doors to so many things. And Travis, when Travis went, well, wormholes. Well, you know what? He's not wrong. He's not wrong. The Vortex conversation is something that is really like for real now. A quarter of a second. Now, could it be something in the system? Could it be something in the software? Again, I've never heard reports of this. It would be a disaster, Cristina, if suddenly the GPS and location software and clocks on this planet are running a quarter second off because of location. This is a big deal. That's why I think this was the best episode yet.
That little detail, I wish it had more time that the show focused on, because you're right. And you bring up really great examples, giving people a great foundation to get a better understanding of what that really means, because it's incredibly significant. And Travis was shocked to hear that. Eric was shocked to hear that. They understood the significance, but I'm not sure if the audience really understood how important just hearing that one sentence, how important that was. But overall, as you had mentioned, it was a really great episode. We got to see a lot of experiments. We got to hear stories. We got to see data as well. And
Yeah.
there's only more to come. There was that teaser of the drilling with no answers. And Jeremiah did mention that he was going to keep the team in the loop when they continue and finish analyzing the rest of the data, because they didn't do all of it from my understanding. I could be wrong there. But I would like to see more data that comes forward from that team in particular.
Yeah, exciting. It just exciting. That quarter of a second is a really big deal. I was looking at Zenzabil saying, there has been discrepancies in GPS data over the years. And glitches, of course. Yeah, lots. But nothing like a quarter of a second.
No, nothing like that. And Cindy, thank you so much. I put a poll up, Jimmy, on the channel, and there's on my channel on YouTube, and it has 103 votes. And I asked, how did this episode rate for you in regards to experimentation and science? And 46% said 80 to 100% really satisfied. 29% said 60 to 80% satisfied. 10% said 40 to 60%. Average amount. And then 16% said 0 to 40% wished for more.
Okay, now hold on for a second, and you might get some feedback. Hold on. Let me turn this off here. Okay, I'm back. Let me get to this poll. Okay, let's see. Really satisfied, average amount, wish for more. Okay, well, it should have been best. Best should have been. Was this the best? Anyway, yeah. Okay. I'm obviously really satisfied. Pretty good results right there. 46, 30, 10, 15 wished for more. Yeah. You got to do that. Now, okay. I want you to grasp hold of something for a second. Autonomous driving, right? Okay. Autonomous driving. Taxi pulls up, Uber, no driver in it, pulls up in front of your house. You jump in the back seat and you head to the airport, right? That's the goal, right? We've seen it. How many, right? That's the goal. That's science fiction. That's it, right? You get your new Tesla, hands off the wheel. You're talking to your friends in the back seat. You're not even watching where you're going, right? Autonomous driving. Imagine if that was off by a quarter of a second, right? Because that's what we're talking about. Just a quarter of a second. The entire planet would just be crashing into each other. Things, everything. It would be over. So let's see if it's part of the data. Is it part of an anomaly? Is there a glitch in the system? Is it the software or the sensors a little wonky? Don't know, but a quarter of a second in the world of science is big, and it's a big deal. And if it turns out to be quarter of a second off there at Skinwalker Ranch, we found us something for real. It was a great episode.
It was. And if you enjoyed the review that Jimmy and I did, hit the like button. It lets us know that you enjoyed today's show, and it also helps the YouTube algorithm as well. Jimmy, thank you so much for doing this review with me. Catch you tomorrow.
I'll see everybody tonight. Fade to black.